Welcome to South Dakota Circuit. Located in Guyana, the South Dakota Circuit is the heart of Caribbean motorsport. Opened in the early 1970s after being an airport runway for the war, this track has hosted decades of racing history. From local club events to international championships, it's the home to the Caribbean Motor Racing Championship and remains one of the most iconic circuits in the region. For GT4 racing, South Dakota Circuit provides a raw and old school challenge that the layout might look simple on paper, but its narrow tarmac and sweepers, as well as bumpy surface at some parts of the track, make every lap intense. Drivers have to respect the track. It punishes overconfidence and rewards rhythm, precision, and most importantly, bravery. Stretching at 2 kilometers long, with just a couple of corners around here, it's short but fast-paced. The elevation changes in tight corners mean consistent action and little room for error. Overtaking here is tough, but when it happens, it's bold and dramatic. For GT4 cars, it brings a new level of excitement to South Dakota, with its mix of power and balance, mechanical grip, as they dance through the corners and blast down the short straights, often running nose to tail in a showcase of pure driving skill. So let's take a look at some of the few corners that you can find some great overtakes here at South Dakota. Starting off with turn 1, the long run heading into T1, the almost late apex double right-hander. You're going to see a lot of dive bombs as that is the prime overtaking spot. But a lot of drivers may find themselves going side by side into the second left-hander, but it's then an uphill right-hander hairpin where it's going to be very tight for the driver on the outside, but if they can keep the momentum, it's a way quicker line going through. As we exit onto the kink and back onto the main circuit of South Dakota, we head into the famous gooseneck section. It's going to be a real bottleneck for the cars as it's very hard to allow racing around this part. Not impossible as there is a track width, but the quicker line is going to be following the driver ahead through until we get to the final corner of the gooseneck and onto the front straight to cross over for another lap. It's short, quick laps at a simple layout, but the layout itself, it is challenging. South Dakota is the pure Caribbean racing experience. Tight, fast, unforgiving, and filled with passion. For a GT4 competition, it's a true test of skill and control, one of the region's most historical tracks. So if you want wheel-to-wheel battles with no margin for error, this is where you're going to find it. But in the world of Caribbean Motor Racing Sim Club, this will be host to round 5 and the final round of the Caribbean Motor Racing Championship 2025 GT4 Caribbean Championship. It all comes down to this in this double header event here at South Dakota. The championship is at stake between Daniel Santos and Mads Krogsgaard as they go head to head. They are only split by 2.5 points before weekly points, so they could even gain or lose. We are still unsure, but one thing's for sure, it's a real true test of a winner takes all come the end of it. With Daniel taking a back-to-back P2 finish and Matt going 6th, then 1st at Jamwest, it's going to be all to play for in this finale. But we couldn't have got here without the controversy that went down. Huge tensions after the end of the Jamaican Grand Prix, where a huge incident that we all know took place at the second race between Sven and Eamon when there was contact around the final corner. There was an all-out brawl in the pit lane. Our insiders told us it was like watching Michael Schumacher storm in the pit lane of the McLaren pit box like it was Belgium at 1998 all over again. Tensions flared, but they were quickly spread apart. And we haven't heard that much from any of the drivers ever since the interaction. However, we also while we have also no news on Lacey's whereabouts after her airport incident just a week ago, photos have been surfaced online between the interaction of Eamon and Sven. And if you look very closely, if you squint your eyes, you can spot a woman in a disguise that looks oddly familiar, but you just can't put your finger on it. She was alongside the Spirit Racing pit crew trying to separate the fight that could have went down, but fortunately no injuries did, or fight did go down. But bystanders swore that they heard her voice, were still unsure, and were left with more questions than answers, as we will update you with this story as it progresses. But nonetheless, it's time to get ready for the finale of CMRC here at South Dakota, the second home of Caribbean Motor Racing Sim Club. It's all to play for the championship. What will go down? If it's as exciting as Jamaica, well, we are in store for an absolute classic. This is round 5. The Grand Prix of Guyana GT4 CMRSC Grand Prix finale.